You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Salam. Salam alaikum. Ramadan Kareem. I'm going to talk to you now. My name is Sheikh Abu Hakim Abdullah, President Chairman of Al-Masjid Sharia Law, a non-profit religious organization operating in the state of Rhode Island, USA. I'm coming to you now at a time when our condition is not very well. It hasn't been for many years. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talked about this 1460-something years ago. He said, when the devil enters the hearts of the believers, or into the hearts of Muslims, so does the devil. And that's a fact. You can see that every day today in the last 50 years. Matter of fact, longer than that. He said there'd be a time when we'd be killing each other. And that's a fact. That's what we're doing, killing each other. The law said they'd be splitting ourselves into sets and groups, all kinds of divisions, and that's a fact. I don't know what more you need to see happening to us that you fail to accept what Allah is saying as true and what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ repeat from him as true. But there's something must be wrong with us, that we cannot abide to the truth like we was raised up to be, or partly raised up to be. Because I blame some of the conditions on us now, on ourselves, on our fathers, our mothers, our sisters, and our brothers, cousins, uncles, our own people. We're doing it to ourselves. I told you about Syria, and that's still going on. I told you about Mali, that's still going on. I told you about Egypt, that's still going on. And you can see why it's going on. And I keep putting on programs on the internet and everything else, showing that we need to produce our own world, our own industrial world, our own financial world, our own economic development world, our own factories, our own hospitals, our own schools, and everything else. And stop trying to be friends with those that want to destroy us. You never see the tiger laying down with the alligator. Or the lion having lunch with the wildebeest. You see the lion having the wildebeest for lunch, but not having lunch with them. And this is what's happening to us. We are beginning to kill our own people. We begin to just worry about our own conditions, our desires. And I told you what's that going to come from. That's coming from these so-called the different positions we got. Professor this, professor that. Doctor so-and-so, doctor this. without re-educating ourselves to what world they're going into. We're going to have to do something about all that. And there's no fix. There's no immediate fix to the problems we got. It's going to take time. A lot of time. And we got to get started with that, though. We got to come off and start doing things to develop our own way of life. You got people in Egypt jumping up and down, hollering about they want democracy. They want democracy and Islam. You cannot have the will, the freedom to do what you want to do in Islam. It doesn't work like that. But you keep trying to make it work like that. Now you want Islam only spiritually, and physically you want democracy. That's hypocritism. That's exactly what that is. Not only hypocritism, that can be taken as shirk. Worshipping something else along with Allah. And we got to do something about all that. This is why I said there's no time for us to repeat ourselves over and over and over again the Quran as the Fatiha and all the other things that we must say in prayer. We must repeat ourselves with what Allah says about industrial life. We must repeat ourselves with the economic conditions we're supposed to develop. Towns and cities we're supposed to develop. And this thing here with the Taliban, they don't want girls going to school. Rather than say that in Quran and Hadith, that women can't go to school. It says that a wife is preferred to be in the household. It doesn't say she can't go to school. When the law says about Muslims get educated, he didn't say women get educated or men get educated. He said Muslims get educated. And we got to do something about all that. So I'm sitting here trying to talk to you, trying to give you the push that you need to face up to what you need to face up to. And what you need to face up to is the truth, the real truth. And the truth is that you're not doing the deen as the law has prescribed it for you to do. You're doing the deen as you want to do it. Not all of us, but many of us. There's so many of us doing it that you can't tell who's not doing it. So I advise you to go ahead and get your act together now. You just can't go around no more saying, Assalamu alaikum, brother, pray for me, make dua for me, and all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, you're walking around doing what you want to do. Brothers and sisters, you really got to get it together. Yes, I'm talking about what we're not doing. I don't see nobody else, many other people doing it. I don't see nobody else pulling out coats or waking us up. We keep giving lectures. What I'm giving you is not a lecture. It's an educating period for Muslims. There's many people have been carrying us to this, what's happening today. So-called leaders been carrying us to this. Many people have been carrying us to our blitz. And we got to turn around. Now, you had an election in Egypt. The Islamic guy, whether he's a brotherhood or what hood, won. He turned around, and that was democracy he won by. So you turn around and you throw democracy out the window when you want to throw it out the window, and yet you keep hollering you want democracy. Same thing happened in Turkey. The Muslim won, and they threw the Muslims out and put somebody else back in there that didn't want Islam. They wanted democracy. Oh, it's a change what's happening to us. The devil among us is growing stronger and stronger each day. Why? Because we're accepting what he's doing. We're accepting his mess. We're accepting what he's telling us. You got to change all that. You got to start to live differently. And it can't happen. It's not going to change tomorrow or the next day. It's going to take months, maybe years, to get us back on the Sirātal Mustaqīm, the straight way. It's up to you brothers and sisters that don't want this thing to happen like this, to come together and develop the pathway that will lead only to the Sirātal Mustaqīm, the straight path. After that, you will see it grow. But it's up to you, brothers and sisters, that don't want this thing to change, don't want to lose your Islam, don't want to be destroyed by desires and the new breeds of Muslims that want to be two things, Christian and Muslim at the same time. Because that's what it looked like to me, Christians and Muslims at the same time. Read your Quran, what Allah says to do with everybody, how Allah says to live with people. Read what it says in there. And go to your footnotes. Read them very good. Read them closely. Read your hadiths. Bukhari and Muslim. Read them. Change your way. I'm asking you, change your way. Please change your way. Bismillahi. Alhamdulillah. I want you to understand that there's a lot of us that's talking to you today that's on sick beds, and still trying to warn you against yourselves. And you got to do something about that. There's a lot of people out here that got the correct idea, and you're not supporting them people with the correct idea. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. You're supporting all the people with the devil idea. You got to stand up for your deen. All them grown-ups, older people, other than children, should be standing up for their deen. Not running. Stand up for their deen. But they're not doing that. Like I said, they're doing everything other than that. I said, it's time for you to change your way. Like in London, like England. You got very few Muslims with jobs in England and France. And it's time to open up factories there. Give your people jobs. Not just standing around doing nothing, but working. In some countries, you got more doctors than you got sick people. Doctor so-and-so, doctor this, doctor that, doctor this, doctor that. And what is he trying to do? Save the sinner. Save the sinner. People that's sinning every day, he's trying to save them. He or she trying to save them. It's time to go ahead and change that. You don't need all them doctors. You don't need all them doctors. You don't need 700 doctors in 100 towns. can understand what I'm saying to you. It needs to be said. You need to understand what I'm saying. There is no more time for you to play around. I seen a young brother stand up there in Egypt saying, "Oh yeah, we got rid of the president." I didn't go along with him when he was a non-president. When he took office, I was definitely against him. So they got a million people to get together and march, and they changed it. 1,000,000 people don't mean you're right. 1,000,000 is people that say what they want. That's what democracy stands for. That's what democracy is. Where the majority wins. The majority don't have to be right. The majority can be wrong. Just because there's 1,000,000 people saying the same thing, that don't mean they're right. I advise you to go ahead and drop that one. It's too late to drop that one. They appointed another vice president, another president, and another one of them brothers that want to be two things, a Democrat and a Muslim. Look, Egypt has always been in bad shape. Its main economic development system was looking for gold, looking for dead people. He had holes in the ground all where people dug, trying to find more dead people. So they're in bad shape anyway. But what they did the other last 2 nights or 3 weeks ago, or a week ago, whenever you look at this, it's showing you where their hearts are at with Islam. And yet I see people talking about they Muslim. And the president was trying to destroy their democratic way. Their democratic life. Their democracy. It was written that Islam is going to pass away and die in the east and rise in the west. And this is how far west you can go. And it's going to rise here. And the group of brothers and sisters that was rising it back years ago is going to have to take the stern, take the wheel again, and drive it. Take the reins again. Say, get them up. Because it's falling behind now. Certain groups in New York and the United States, they don't even want to recognize us being Muslims. I say it's time for us to get our acts together. Start doing what we're supposed to do. I felt so hurt. Tears almost rolled out my eyes sitting there looking at what was going on in Egypt. Under the name of democracy and under the name of Islam. Christians, Jews, and everything else is out there fighting against the president of Egypt. I said it's time to get it together. Even if you have to work the lifestyle of the ant. The ant can move a cow this big, and they only that big. And they can clean a cow out in days, that big. Lift 4 times their own weight. But they're doing it. They cut something up and put it back together where they're putting it together, feed their families and stuff. It's time for you to live the same way.